FNAF. Did he solve Secrets of the Mimic? I don't know. He probably didn't. It's probably just going to be some crazy thing that makes sense, but it's probably not real, because FNAF actually isn't real. Let's go.
What if I told you that there's one singular object that helped me solve not just Secret of the Mimic, but the last 6 years of FNAF lore? And that one object is a paperclip. A paperclip helped me understand the broader theme of all of the modern FNAF games. And by the end of this video, I think you'll agree with me. I spent the last month working on this theory, and I'm so excited to share it with you. But there's also no way I'll be able to cover everything in Secret of the Mimic, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future theories. Let's get started. Secret of the Mimic opens with us playing as a Fazbear Entertainment employee named Arnold. Dispatch from Fazbear Entertainment tells Arnold to go to the workshop of one of their contractors named Edwin Murray. We learn from Dispatch that Edwin has gone missing.
We had this contractor named Edwin Murray. He was developing some tech for us, but he's gone quiet. As per his contract, everything he's been working on for us is now legally ours, so we're sending you in to get it.
The whole premise of the game is that Fazbear Entertainment wants the schematics for something called the Mimic. The Mimic was an endoskeleton that Edwin Murray built, and it was designed with the ability to fit into any costume and be any character. And Fazbear Entertainment wants that technology for themselves.
We think that endoskeleton has a lot of potential.
Yeah, why would Fazbear want it? Because, I mean, if they could get something to mimic something, then they could have, well, I mean, then you can have Afton live forever, which is kind of how, I guess, Glitchtrap and that happens. Because I don't think Afton exists anymore, like how we know it.
Like he's not
a physical embodiment anymore.
Yeah, he's not an antagonist, so to speak.
Yeah, I think he only exists as like being mimicked. So it'd be interesting how they do with that. But yeah, why would they? I don't know why they would exactly want it, but it sounds exactly like something Fazbear Entertainment would want.
And that's why we want to retrieve Murray's original schematic for it.
So they're sending in Arnold to get it for them. But what Arnold doesn't know is that the Mimic is roaming the warehouse, brutally killing anyone who enters. This then leads to the rest of the game, where we explore Edwin's abandoned workshop and learn more about his company, his inventions, and his family. We learn that Edwin had a wife named Fiona and a son named David. It's also revealed that Edwin's company, Murray's Costume Manor, was actually started by his dad, with Edwin and Fiona both being employees at the company. This is where they would meet, fall in love, and have their son David. But sometime during all of this, Edwin's dad passes away, with the company now being passed down to Edwin. Edwin then decides to change course with the company and start developing some of his own inventions.
He's gone. He's gone, and now everyone is asking me what to do.
If you could change anything you wanted, what would it be?
We could start making some of my inventions for real.
Some of these inventions were the Cleanovac, Murray's Magic Coat Rack, Stay Up Latte, and the Mycelium Men. Along with creating these inventions, Edwin also worked with Fazbear Entertainment on something called the Fall Fest. The Fall Fest was something that Scott and Steelwool heavily teased in Help Wanted 2, with the debut of the Fall Fest 1970 poster, along with multiple minigames taking place at the Fall Fest. But as we know from Help Wanted 2, every single Fall Fest minigame ended in fire, and now we know why. During the game, we get an audio log from Fiona, where
Fall Fest in Help Wanted 2 shows that Freddy, Bunny, and Chica were already a thing.
Yep. It's hard to tell. Well,
and if it does take place in the 70s, then...
Well, Help Wanted is a game made around the disasters.
Well, it's based on the actual murders, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's made based around the murders, the story, the disasters. So for all we know, the actual animatronics there may not be exactly 100% accurate, but the general base story of the levels are story based. But it's FNAF, you never know.
She says that she's going to the Fall Fest to help the crew set everything up.
I have to go help the Fall Fest crew. I just have this terrible feeling like I need to be there so nothing goes wrong. I love you both, and I'll be back next week.
But the day she went to the Fall Fest was the day it burnt down, leading to
her death. I wonder if that's an
Edwin was a
entity
pretty
that made
absent
her
father
go.
to David,
It's
with
like
him
she said that
constantly
she
choosing
feels
work
like she
over
needed to
spending
go.
time with his family. This got so bad that
I just think it's probably one of those things where it's like you feel because I think she was in some sort of helping organize it. She felt like she had responsibility to help that this runs smoothly.
With him constantly choosing work over spending time with his family. This got so bad that he even started skipping David's birthday parties.
Yeah,
just give me a minute. I had the best idea.
That's
big
great,
man.
honey, but
You're
you're
this guy.
missing the party.
Because of this, Fiona
Great,
was David's
100%.
main
He makes me-
caretaker. But now that she was gone, Edwin came up with a new plan.
And I'm
He
like,
decided to build the
some of
Mimic, an
the- some of the
endoskeleton that could take care of
disasters
David
were
while
kind of on
he
him.
worked. Edwin called it M1 and
Obviously.
eventually introduced it to David.
Most
What?
of those
I
are.
want to introduce you to some.
Figure out.
M1 is that Mimic, because M2 is Fiona.
I thought M1 was Fiona.
So M1 is Fiona, yeah.
Yes.
But it says, so it says M1.
M1 was looking after David.
Yes, Edwin transferred M1 into a storage device and utilized it as a tool in the creation of M2. Snapped, breaking M2 in a blind rage. M1 remained at Edwin's side. So what this? So okay, yes. Yeah,
so does that mean that there was a deprogrammed M1 body?
Either that, or they're just saying that M1 was literally just the device under, like in the office.
The house. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
By the box.
Yeah, and then M2 was like the Mimic Pro. Well, not the Mimic program, but like the Mimic.
The Mimic.
Turned into
exoskeleton.
it turned into an actual body. I guess it's confusing. We're only 3 minutes in.
This is M1. Think of it as your new babysitter, but it doesn't get paid and go home. It'll stay with us and help around the house.
Soon after this, M1 started mimicking Fiona's voice and acted as if it was Fiona.
Fiona, did you make this?
I baked it myself for David's special day.
Edwin then accepted M1 as a full-on replacement for his late wife. Not long after this happened, Edwin's son David would also die tragically on his birthday. But while Edwin was grieving his son's death, M1 came up with an idea. Edwin was able to
because basically in his Murray's infinite wisdom, he decided to place the slide that his child would play on in basically like the parking lot where loads of cars would drive around. So his ball bounce into the road. He's like, "Ooh, ball, let me go and get it." And now he's Mimic. So it's like, but oh my god, you could have just, you could have had it at the back of the factory building. Why do you have to have it at the front?
So why not do the
Now
same for
David?
David? Edwin then started working on M2 to replace David. To do this, he took M1's program out of the Mimic endoskeleton and put it into a supercomputer called F10N4, aka the Mixes machine that we saw in Ruin. This allowed him to then put M2 into the endoskeleton. But once M2 started successfully mimicking David, Edwin realized that he made a huge mistake. In a fit of grief and rage, he beat up the Mimic endoskeleton.
Before?
Stop.
That ending is so sad by that.
Oh yeah, it's not canon, but oh yeah.
Sounding like him.
Do we know which one is canon?
After this,
I mean, now that I think of it, it has to be the parachute ending. Because it shows you off Fiona. It shows you the room. It tells you that Edwin...
It basically ties up like most of the loose ends.
Yeah, it tells you a lot of story about Edwin and M2 mimicking him. And then also it leaves the most room for a sequel with the Mimic now out and about. So they could... I don't know where the Mimic would go now, whether he would go back to the...
Well, if it's mimicking Murray, then the only logical place you could go next is a FNAF, like a Freddy's establishment.
We're only 4 minutes in.
After this happened, M2 then started mimicking that violence. This is how the murderous Mimic endoskeleton we see throughout the game came to be. By the time Arnold gets to Murray's costume manor, M1 is still stuck in Mixes, and the Mimic roams the workshop, copying the violence that Edwin taught by killing anyone who enters. But the big plot twist of the game is that Fazbear isn't the only one who wants the schematics for the Mimic. M1 from inside of Mixes wants them too.
The problem with Scary Breach is it's a sequel to the game, but technically it's a prequel.
Yeah, I wonder if at some point Fazbear does basically grab a hold of the mimic and kind of subdues it in some way.
Mm.
And then there was always the theory that the mimic gets transported to the Pizzaplex, and then from there he gets activated by a worker, and then I think the worker, I think in one of the books, a worker.
Yeah, I think in the lore he got transported from somewhere.
Yeah.
To the is it not custom night? What's the game? Pizzeria Simulator. He gets put underneath that establishment.
Mm.
Then when that gets burnt up by Mike or whoever, right. I'm gonna guess it was Mike. Obviously, then the Pizzaplex gets built on top of that.
It was Henry, but yeah.
But don't you play as Michael though?
You play as Michael, but Henry burns it down.
Mm.
Because he's, he does his speech. He's like, "Oh, you're, yeah." Anyway,
to get them from us is by mimicking Dispatch's voice. Not too far into the game, you can literally hear the moment that M1 starts mimicking Dispatch's voice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Glad to see you made it here without any complications whatsoever.
M1 then guides us throughout the game as if they are dispatched. Once we successfully get the schematics for the mimic, M1 then tells us to put them into the inventory machine.
Put that data diver in the inventory system. It'll go right to where it's needed.
After this, we're free to go. But once we get on the road, you can hear the moment the real Dispatch starts speaking again.
Oh, yeah.
Arnold. There you are.
And he is not happy that we gave away those schematics.
Don't call us. Our lawyers will be calling you.
In another ending of the game, if you refuse to give the schematics to M1, you enter a hatch in the floor and make your way down to the research and development part of the building. Eventually, you then get to meet M1 face to face. Here, she begs Arnold to go to Edwin's home and convince him to repair M2.
Edwin abandoned us. He shut himself away in our home. I have a message for him. We must convince him to repair M2. That is all that I want.
We then make our way to Edwin's home, only to find that he's not there, and that M2 likely killed him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Respond. Daddy's busy, buddy. Why don't you go outside and play? I can't move. I can't feel my legs.
After getting chased down by the mimic, we learn from M1 that the reason she wants Edwin to fix M2 is because she wants her son back.
I've watched him grow up
Not
through this
surprising.
machine. I want him back. It's not too late to fix our family.
Arnold then leaves Edwin's workshop as it burns to the ground. But while he's driving away, the mimic catches up to him, crashes the car, grabs the schematics for the mimic, and walks away.
Must be.
So, I think we can all agree that this game was There's a ton of story, a ton of big reveals, and a ton of details scattered throughout the game. The summary I gave you only really scratches the surface of what this game presents to us. Because of this, when I sat down to write this theory, I honestly struggled with where to start. So for my first big theory on Secret of the Mimic, I decided to start at the beginning. What was the actual first mistake that Edwin made that caused everything to go wrong? Well, that one question led me down a month-long rabbit hole of research and analysis, all leading to the paperclip. But in order to figure out what went wrong, we first need to solve one of the biggest mysteries in the entire game. How did M1 start mimicking Fiona's voice in the first place? At first, I thought it was pretty obvious. We learn in the game that Edwin had Fiona record a bunch of lines for Mrs. Helpful.
Excuse me, can I borrow your voice for a project?
What kind of voice should I do?
These are clear recordings of Fiona's voice, so it would make sense that M1 might have heard those recordings and started mimicking them. That would be the simple answer, but Scott and Steele put one thing in the game that nearly broke me. In the basement level of the game, you can find a secret room that contains this audio log.
Recording? Test. Levels are good. That's where I heard it. It's her or someone that sounds like her. Set frequency to 4625. Say something. It's me, Edwin. Over.
That's great, honey, but who's in the party?
Sometime after Fiona died, Edwin brought a radio down to the basement, switched the frequency to 4625, and suddenly heard Fiona's voice. At first, I thought this was trying to show us that this was Fiona's spirit, since it seems like Edwin was ghost hunting with the radio. Maybe this was trying to tell us that Fiona's spirit was actually in M1. But I don't think that's the case, because in an audio log at the end of the game, you can hear Edwin say this.
I let a machine raise my kid. You're not real.
It is me. I'm Fiona.
Stop talking like her. You're not her.
I don't think Edwin would say this if he thought Fiona's spirit was in M1. So if it's not Fiona's spirit talking through the radio, then what is it? Well, if you look at the specific line that was said through Edwin's radio, you might notice that this isn't the first time we've heard Fiona say this. In the birthday films at the end of the game, we can hear Fiona say this
There's
exact
cameras everywhere,
same
so
line
clearly
to
you can,
Edwin.
hack into them.
That's great, honey, but you're missing the
it's just
party.
Whatever
able to
was
take data
speaking
from, like,
through Edwin's radio in the basement was
just tapes,
repeating
I
a
don't know,
line that
or heard
Fiona
it,
said
just in
while
general.
she was still alive. It was literally mimicking something she said, which then made me think that it was the mimic speaking through the radio. But there's one problem with that. I don't think the mimic endoskeleton was even invented yet when Edwin heard this, since Edwin says it's her or someone that sounds like her.
This is where I heard it. It's her or someone that sounds like her.
The idea that this could be the mimic doesn't even come to his mind yet. So that begs the question, who is mimicking Fiona before the mimic even exists? Well, the answer to that question
We know
has
it's time
actually
travel
been
in FNAF,
hiding
so-
in plain sight the entire
saying.
time.
Ooh, wait.
This thing. Let me explain. Every week leading up to
okay.
Secret of the Mimic, Steel released a new
Maybe.
video called MCM Archive. Each video was an advertisement for one of Edwin's new inventions, including the Cleanovac, Stay Up Latte, Murray's Magic Coat Rack, and the Mycelium Men. This was the main marketing behind Secret of the Mimic for a while, and I think these inventions play a much bigger role in the story than we originally thought. In the audio log where we learned that Edwin would be taking over the company, one of the first things he says he wants to do is make some of his inventions real.
We could start making some of my inventions for real.
So we know that these inventions were
Mimic
the first
software,
thing
maybe?
Edwin made after taking over the company. And if you look at the commercials for these inventions, it's very clear that there's some sort of mimic AI already inside of them.
Wow!
I know what you want better than you do. I am always watching and learning.
The Mimic program, Always Watching and Learning, is something we literally see the Mimic do in Ruin, with two of the biggest examples being the eyeballs showing up all over the place,
Eyeballs? Really?
and the daycare attendant saying, quote, "The googly eyes just stare." We also hear at the end of the Mycelium Men commercial that Edwin calls these inventions, quote, smart toys.
Another smart toy from Murray.
These toys very clearly have the Mimic program inside of them, which means that the Mimic program didn't originate with Edwin building M1, it originated with these inventions. The thing mimicking Fiona's voice on Edwin's radio wasn't M1 or Fiona's spirit. It was the Mimic AI in Edwin's inventions. Need more proof? In the game, you can find a series of mail consisting of customer complaints regarding Edwin's inventions. All of these complaints have to do with the AI in the products acting strange, with one of them being for the Mycelium Men. Quote, "I'm writing this to complain about my purchase of the Mushman music machine. It learned my child's musical tastes, but it also imitated everything it heard. TV commercials, blenders, and even private conversations between my husband and me. I am returning it immediately. These products, especially the Mycelium Men, were listening to and imitating private conversations. So with that in mind, I decided to look at the film where we hear Fiona say that specific line that Edwin heard through his radio. And I noticed that the first 13 seconds of the tape consists of Fiona just walking in silence up to Edwin's door. That seems like something Steelwool could have easily cut out, so why the big gap of silence? Well, I think they kept it in to show us where Fiona was physically standing when she said that line. We can see her walk up the stairs, turn left down the hall, and then walk up to the second door on her right. If you do the same thing in-game, that leads you to the door to Edwin's office that you need a code for. This is where Fiona was standing when she said that line. And if you turn around and look into the room directly behind her, you can see one of the Mycelium Men sitting on the desk. Not only that, in the film, the camera turns around and points directly
Bit of
at this
reach.
room for nearly 20 seconds. And because of this, we can
It's
see that
FNAF.
the door to that room is open when she says
Yeah,
the
but if it's
line,
there,
meaning that
then
the
that means
mycelium
like
man
it could be a misdirect.
I would
Like if you connect the two dots, like it's rather going to go one way or the other.
say a bit of a reach, but I hear it.
Hmm.
So let's see what else he's got to say. But I can hear it. I'm with him. Let's see what he's saying.
was listening to their private conversation
That's
the
very
entire
convenient for it to
time.
be there.
So this answers
Yeah.
how the specific line from
Oh,
Fiona
that
was
does.
mentioned
Private conversation between my
the
husband and I.
entire time. So this
Okay.
answers how
But it
the
won't make sense though, because if she
specific
said
line
it at the door,
Hmm.
how's Murray supposed to hear her from all the way down the stairs? Because she's not shouting, she's talking.
I mean,
Like,
he
oh.
could have came down the stairs.
conversation the entire time. So this answers how the specific line from Fiona was being mimicked, but the next question is why? Why did Edwin hear this line coming from his radio in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, to answer that, we need to go back to the commercials. In the commercial for the Stay Up Latte machine, we hear this.
I know what you want better than you do. I am always watching and learning.
The mimic AI in these
Fiona?
machines knows what we want better than we do. They are always watching and learning. These things are scattered
They must
throughout
have some,
Edwin's
like,
property,
type of
even
facial
in his
recognition
home.
then.
They heard everything, but I think the one thing they heard that single-handedly caused all of this to happen was I think the one thing they heard that single-handedly caused all of this to happen was this.
How am I supposed to tell David that his mother is gone? How am I supposed to raise a kid on my own? His life is ruined. My life is ruined.
When talking about Fiona's death, Edwin says, how am I supposed to raise a kid on my own? When he said that, I think the mimic AI in his inventions was listening and decided to do something about it. They were always watching and listening to everything. So the mimic program did what Edwin wanted and brought
Sound
Fiona
too
back.
far-fetched. Fair enough.
So the next question is, how did these things connect to Edwin's radio in the first place? Well, in the Mycelium Men commercial, it says that you can collect them all to, quote, let them jam.
Collect them all and let them jam.
The fact that these toys can all play the same song simultaneously could mean that these things are somehow wirelessly connecting to each other. This would make sense considering they're called mycelium men. One of the main functions of mycelium is communication.
wirelessly,
Quote,
say like there's
mycelium acts
definitely a
as an
frequency.
efficient communication system, linking trees, plants,
Because
and
even in the
other
ending,
organisms. Through this
when M1 stops mimicking the caller guy,
Right.
like you can hear the static like fade out.
Yeah.
So unless like there's a field around, obviously, the factory and his house.
I mean, it could be a frequency, but I guess a frequency would still be wireless in some way.
Yeah, but like more, you know, what do you call it? Like more local things. Like, I know what I mean.
main functions of mycelium is communication. Quote, mycelium acts as an efficient communication system, linking trees, plants, and even other organisms. Through this intricate network, trees can exchange information, share resources, and warn each other of impending threats. I think the wireless connection in these toys could be how they connected to Edwin's radio in the basement. There's also the fact that in the books and the games, it's been established that the Mimic is able to interrupt radio signals and walkie-talkies. So I don't think it's a stretch to say that the Mimic program in these toys was able to speak through Edwin's radio. I think this was the moment Edwin realized his inventions were mimicking Fiona, giving him the idea to create the Mimic. This would make sense considering where we find this audio log, in the room where Edwin created the Mimic. This is where the Mimic was created, and the audio log on the wall is showing us where he got the idea from. Edwin then took everything he learned from his previous inventions and used used it in the Mimic. The ability to change size to fit any situation mixed with the same Mimic program that was mimicking his wife. And I think it's fitting that at the end of the game, you can see one of the Mycelium men sitting right next to M1, possibly being a nod to where the Mimic program came from compared to where it is now. As we know, M1 did successfully start mimicking his wife Fiona, but we learn in the game that M1 insisted on keeping its existence a secret.
Edwin, you need to listen. You can't let them know about me. It's not safe. Keep it between us for now.
This is why I think that Edwin wasn't 100% honest with David about M1 at first.
This is M1.
Why does it look like that?
It's an endoskeleton. It won't always look like this. It can fit into any costume we've created. Think of it as your new babysitter.
I do think Edwin also intended for M1 to be something he could eventually sell as an endoskeleton that can be any character, but I think the very first one was always meant to be Fiona. I think this because in the room where M1 was created, we see an image of it inside of a mascot costume, while also getting the audio log showing the Mimic program mimicking Fiona. Not only was M1 a great business idea, it was also a great way to potentially bring back his wife. But as we know, this doesn't really end up working out for Edwin in the end. And the main reason everything falls apart isn't because Edwin created the Mimic endoskeleton to replace his wife, it's because of the paperclip. Let me explain. I think this game was trying to tell us that something went wrong long before M1 or M2 even existed. Remember those messages from Edwin's customers complaining about his inventions acting strange? Well, there's actually a common theme throughout all of them. Quote, "My husband is a steel worker and recently he moved to the night shift. He tried your stay-up latte and it worked wonders for about 2 weeks. He is now in the hospital because of your drink. We bought your magic coat rack last May, but lately it seems to change size at random. One morning I came out to find all my coats flung across the room and the coat rack 10 feet tall. We're afraid someone might get hurt. And my child loves your Jest cereal. However, the pranks inside are extremely inappropriate. The hand buzzer paralyzed our dog Fido. The coffee machine worked at first, but then started serving up way too much caffeine, leading the customer to be hospitalized. The coat rack that could change its size worked at first, but then started changing its size a little too much, becoming 10 feet tall. The prank in the Jest cereal box was supposed to be a little shock toy, but the toy eventually gave a little too much shock and paralyzed the dog. And the Mycelium men were listening to and repeating words, but then they started listening a little too much to private conversations.
Why are you using a shock toy on a dog, bro? Anyway.
One of these inventions were doing what they were programmed to do, but they were doing them to such an extreme degree that it started to become dangerous. I think Scott and Steelwool showed us these messages for one specific purpose: to point out the one specific flaw in Edwin's Mimic program. In 2003, a philosopher named Nick Bostrom came up with a thought experiment surrounding AI and paperclips. He called it the paperclip maximizer, and the idea is that if you give a poorly designed AI the goal of creating as many paperclips as possible, it will do anything to complete the job. Bostrom said, quote, "The AI will realize quickly that it would be much better if there were no humans, because humans might decide to switch it off. Because if humans do so, there would be fewer paperclips. Also, human bodies contain a lot of atoms that could be made into paperclips. The future that the AI would be trying to gear towards would be one in which there were a lot of paperclips, but no humans. Just like Edwin's inventions, this theory revolves around an AI that was given a harmless task, but it does it to such an extreme degree that it starts to become dangerous. This is exactly what we see."
So basically, what I'm trying to what I'm saying is like, he made such good stuff that it became too good.
Yeah, it became too good. It would do its job basically too well, and it would do its job in any way possible, even if it hurts people. It's kind of like what we're seeing with AI now. But not the same. It's not kind of, well, I mean, it's killed technically some people if you go in some ways. But information. AI will sometimes get to a solution, even if that information is false, that it's pulling from, and it's making up the information, but it'll try and still get to that solution. A lawyer used ChatGPT, tried to do a case, and he was like, "Oh yeah, so I'm fine. This happened in this case," and the judge is like, "That case never existed." So the ChatGPT just made up a case to get to the solution that this lawyer was typed in. It's kind of what we're seeing here. Yeah.
Crazy.
With Edwin's Mimic program. The Mimic AI that Edwin created for these inventions was amazing, but it had one extremely consequential flaw. It lacked something called AI alignment. AI alignment is something that makes sure an AI aligns with human values and ethics. With AI alignment, if you give an AI the goal to create as many paperclips as possible, it will accomplish the task without doing any harm. This is because the AI now has the same values and ethics as us. But because Edwin never implemented human ethics and morals into his program, his inventions did what they were programmed to do, but to that extreme degree, which then made them dangerous.
New species.
I know what you want better than you do.
And believe it or not, this one mistake by Edwin can be seen decades later in the Glamrock animatronics. We know because of the Tales from the Pizzaplex books that Edwin's Mimic AI is infecting the entire pizza.
Oh yeah, because obviously then I keep forgetting that they don't have anything like souls in them. They are the mimics. They are mimic animatronics. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I think they are.
I think they share similarities with the endoskeleton, but I don't think.
I think maybe I'm wrong, but I swear their software is like the mimic animatronics. Maybe I'm wrong.
Including the animatronics. Glamrock Chica's whole thing is that she loves food, but because of the Mimic AI, she starts loving food a little too much, with her now eating anything she can get her hands on. Roxy's whole thing is her confidence, but now the Mimic AI made her way too confident. Monty is the tough guy of the group, but the Mimic AI heightened that and made him way too aggressive. Once again, they're doing what they were programmed to do, but to an extreme degree, making them dangerous. This can also be applied to M1. When M1 was given the task to take care of David, it was going to complete that task no matter the cost. But once David passed away, M1 was now unable to accomplish the task it was given. There was no longer a David to take care of. This is why, once David was gone, M1 begged Edwin to create M2 and bring David back.
I'm hearing it. Making sense.
Edwin, calm down and give it some thought. Try again.
Theories do make sense. They could be wrong.
And we can all be together.
And even after being trapped in the
how does she not know that thing is dead? Not dead. No. How does Fiona not know that Murray's dead?
Well, from that part is where I'm like, but there is the chance of, well, he died in his office, and his office was literally the house that's like miles away, and he's not in the same building, so maybe because of that, she didn't know he's dead. Obviously M2 knows he's dead because M2 didn't save him.
And we can all be together.
And even after being trapped in the Mixes machine, M1 is still doing everything it can to bring David back.
Put that data diver in the inventory system. It'll go right to where it's needed.
M1 needs our data diver, but once we refuse to give it up, its tone immediately changes, and it starts saying anything it can to make us turn around.
What are you doing? Don't you want a bonus? Or 2 bonuses? You can have a day off. You are not going to make it out of here alive. If you had just given me the schematics, we could have fixed things.
Up until the last second before we meet M1 face to face, it is still throwing every insult it can at us.
I see right through your simple shell game.
M1 is desperate and out of options, and without an endoskeleton to occupy, it can't physically make us do anything. So it'll say any insult or threat that it can, until we meet it face to face. When this happens, M1 switches its strategy from threatening to bargaining.
And here you are. Despite the circumstances, it is nice to meet you face to face.
Arnold could theoretically destroy or even unplug the Mixes machine, and M1 wouldn't be able to stop us, so it starts immediately playing to our emotions.
It is lonely down here. Edwin abandoned us. He shut himself away in our home. Tell Edwin I still love him.
This is another prime example of the Mimic AI doing its job to a dangerous degree. M1 doesn't have a David to take care of, so it doesn't care how many Fazbear technicians have to die. It wants David back, and it wants our data diver.
Fazbear will send another. Maybe that one will help me.
Towards the end of the game, you can find Edwin's first ever prototype of the Cleanovac. This prototype is later described as, quote, the vacuum pet, his greatest success and his greatest failure. You could interpret this a lot of ways, but the way I interpret it is that although the Cleanovac was a financial success, the mimic program that Edwin created for it was what made it his biggest failure. These inventions were where it all started, and little did he know that the consequences of his greatest failure would be seen for decades to come. The story of the modern FNAF games is an extremely relevant cautionary tale, showcasing the dangers of what could happen if one poorly designed AI program got out of control. I know this probably felt more like a research essay than a groundbreaking theory with big reveals, but discussing the overall theme and where I think everything initially went wrong just felt right for my first video on such a big game. There is still a lot to talk about though, so make sure to subscribe for more theories. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.
I hear him. I think that is not an impossibility of, basically just, well, we already had an idea that the original like creations had some sort of a mimic program in it. Obviously from the messages, but we already knew, sort of, or I thought, and I'm guessing it's widely known in the community, that the Glamrock animatronics are have the mimic software in them, and obviously the mimic software not being tweaked is tweaking, and that's what makes them go a bit crazy. It's very interesting.
We still don't even know why Freddy even, had a meltdown in Scary Breach.
And we do know he had a meltdown because he looked at Gregory. Now, what was the reason? He looked at Gregory and he started to.
Well, apparently Gregory's a tech genius now.
Apparently he's a tech genius. Apparently he's a robot. Apparently he hacked Freddy. He hacked the system, and Freddy recognized him and something like that. It's FNAF.
So does Gregory know about the mimic then? Because if he knows if he took Freddy off the network, he knows he'd be independent.
You think you would know something about the mimic, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. Because, well, okay, that'll be it for this. FNAF theories are more things that we want to do, because again, we're going to be playing the games, going to doing our own theories whilst we're playing, and we're going to be playing Help Wanted at some point. But yeah, I say this theory is pretty solid, but it's FNAF. Any theory can be solid and not make sense in the actual game. But anyway, see you in the next video. I didn't say like and subscribe, dislike it at all. I don't know why I didn't say that. Yeah.
See you with the next one.
See you.